We look at AI in three key buckets. How can we use AI to generate more sales? How can we use AI to be more effective? And how can we use AI to cut costs? And obviously, all of those buckets, there's lots of different ways, and we're always looking at it through that lens. I think when it comes to the actual content creation, we are still very much humans creating connections with our customers, creating connections with their customers and prospects. And while AI has given us some efficiencies for certain parts of the process, it has not replaced that having a human being tell the story, add the heart and soul, create the connection is still very near and dear to us. And so again, I think, it's one of my favorite tools to use. We use a lot of them, and it has made me so much more effective, and I love it. And I love the direction AI is going in so many ways.
The next wave of business leaders won't just use AI, they'll master momentum with it, starting now. Welcome to the
AI Momentum Show, where today's top entrepreneurs share how they're scaling smarter, faster, and evolving and navigating the future of business with or without AI. I'm Elise Smith, your co-host, and Allie is unfortunately not with us here today, but we love her and miss her. And today's guest is Wendy Lieber, co-founder and CEO of ContentBacon, a trailblazing content as a service company that helps businesses grow through powerful storytelling and strategic alignment. Like, they're amazing, guys. You have to look them up. She's a master at turning CRM data into actionable insights, and her work is transforming how companies communicate, connect, and convert. So welcome, Wendy.
Thank you, Elise. I'm so happy and excited to be here, and miss you, Allie.
Absolutely. Well, we're excited to have you for sure. So before we dive in, we'd love to hear your version. You describe, how you serve people and who you serve.
Yeah, I mean, you did a really great job with the intro. We've been in business for 10 years. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. And when we started, we really described ourselves as content as a service and really around done for you. And what we kind of the genesis of why Content Bacon was started is I really saw such a huge need in the market for a company like ours to make generating content easy, but also effective and cost effective too, not just effective results wise. So that's how we started. And it was really delivering content as a service and having a subscription based model, which was very much aligned to making sure your content's effective. You have to be consistent. So it wouldn't make sense, to just come to us for a project and then go away, because if you're not doing content on a consistent basis, then it's not going to be effective and get you the results you want around generating more awareness, more interest, and ultimately more business. And so that's still very true to who we are today. But what is different about today than 10 years ago is what we found is while doing lots of content for our customers, we ended up working many times in their CRM, their customer relationship manager, like a HubSpot, like a Salesforce, like a Zoho. And so we started adding that to our menu because when we're working in your CRM, it gives us real data to not only use, but also to show you results. And so the customer journey can be mapped out in your CRM, and then you can really map content to support that. And then the use of technology within the CRM to help make it easier. So in addition to, being the world's leading content resource, the fact that we do it in your CRM gives us more tangible results to show you so you can really see how the content is working for you.
Mm. And I love that. Like the first time that we talked to you and of course then we, stalked you on LinkedIn and, checked out your website and
Thank
everything.
you.
But it really just stood out to me that you take it so much further than just creating content for
Yeah,
your clients, which you do an incredible job at with creating content, but it's really more of that holistic approach of making sure that their business is growing. It's not just putting out the content, but really partnering with them, wouldn't you say?
absolutely. I mean, that's how we like to refer to ourselves. We're your in-house outsourced content team. And I have a favorite saying that I follow myself is what gets outsourced gets done, and content creation and CRM optimization is typically something that no one 100% owns within an organization. Therefore, it never really gets fully leveraged. And so by outsourcing it to a company like ours, who this is all we do. We're not a marketing agency, we're not a branding agency. We are, content as a service. That's what we do, that's what we're great at. It's you ensure that it gets done and it gets done consistently, and we're there to be accountable with you on the results. So if we're not getting the results that we want, we're right there with you, rolling up our sleeves, trying to figure it out and make the right adjustment so that we do get you the result. So, and that's the part we really love, because we want our customers to win and generate more income and be prosperous. And we that's the impact that we make with our customers, and that's what's really important to us, is provide the most value so that we stay lifelong friends.
I love that. It's all about those relationships and the companies that are really succeeding, it's not necessarily about their processes or the technology that they have. It's the fact that they really do care about the clients because it's kind of starting to go away in this world, right? Like let's just automate everything, which is funny that I'm saying that considering we're an AI agency. But we
Yeah,
also have that human touch that we never want to lose. And so I really admire what you're doing with Content Bacon and just what your company is able to accomplish and how you're able to partner with your clients. So thank you so
thank
much
you.
for going there. It's great. So how did you get started as an entrepreneur? Like, was this your first business or tell us kind of the backstory?
Yeah, this is my second business. And, when I describe my entrepreneurial journey, I'm not one of those entrepreneurs that's been an entrepreneur since I was a little kid, doing all these wonderful, crazy things, that are like, yeah, she's going to be an entrepreneur. I really didn't kind of come into entrepreneurship. I'd worked in the corporate world. I was very lucky that the companies that I worked for were that kind of small to medium sized business, like 500 million, 700 million, not small, small, but not huge where you get lost in the shuffle. And I always got to work either at the leadership level, board level, or with the leaders and board. So I guess in doing that, and I had amazing mentors, I always viewed my position as kind of like a company within a company. And then one of the companies I worked for was owned by a private equity group. And I just used to have really fun, interesting conversations with them about how do they, multiply the value of a company after they buy it. And I always was coming from a marketing product development angle. And they hired me because they were like, we don't have anyone on our team that looks at our acquisitions the way you look at them. We have financial experts that's always looking how to cut cost, how to generate, more revenue, but not through a marketing lens. And so that's how I started my first company, was getting hired by a private equity group and then using that as a launching pad to really do that type of marketing, which was very boutique, very niche consulting for either private equity groups and their entities or growing companies. So that was my first company, Athena Marketing. And then I was in a program called Entrepreneurship Organization Accelerator Program. And it was meant for companies looking to scale above $1 million. And I just while I was in that program, I just knew it wasn't Athena marketing that I wanted to scale, that there was something else. And so during that program, I met my partner, Dave Custon, who had a branding agency, and we had collaborated on a few client projects together very successfully and talked about just merging, which would have taken us over the $1 million mark. And we would have had like a nice agency type model, but neither one of us was super excited about building an agency. But both of us were excited about how can we create something scalable and where were the biggest gaps. And I had started dabbling in content subscriptions because I was starting to see my customers, no matter how small, how big, were all struggling to maintain their digital presence in a meaningful way. And so that was kind of how Content Bacon was launched. Instead of doing a bigger version of what we already had, we branched off, started this content subscription division, and then that blew up. And within a year, we had grown into, EO. So we hit that $1 million mark within a year of launching. And we both, for a while, we were operating both companies. We one summer day, I was talking to him from New York. And I remember I was like walking the streets and talking to him. And I'm like, I'm ready to just do this full time and give up, Athena marketing. And so that's how Content Bacon was born.
Wow, that is so cool. It's so neat to be able to hear how quickly it can happen for you, right? When you find the thing that you're passionate about and that there's a need in the industry for, which of course there is. I feel like that is one of the number one things that people like hate about business is content.
Yeah.
Just being consistent is difficult, and creating the content is, can be difficult sometimes. We don't go into business, thinking that we're going to be marketers or thinking that we're going to be creating content all the time. So I love the fact that your business exists for people like us.
Yeah.
But just listening to your story, what mindset shift did you really need to embrace to take that leap of opening that brand new business with your partner?
I think it was just knowing that the business that I had was very much dependent on me and creating a bigger vision for myself. And so that's what really got me excited. I mean, the business that I had was very successful. It was really profitable. It was great, but there was really nowhere to go. So having a bigger vision of, what was really important to me, and having a team and being able to have a bigger impact was what really got me excited. And so I think the mindset set shift is like having a bigger vision. And I think that's like always on button, right? Because you've always got to be creating the next version of yourself, the next version of your business, that next vision. Because what I found is that I set big goals for myself. I accomplish those goals. And if I don't set the next round, and sometimes I'm not even cognizant that I've accomplished the goals, I'll just start to feel like, I don't know, like lackadaisical or restless. And then I'll realize, oh yeah, because I haven't set the next milestone. And that's just life and entrepreneurship, right? It's like if you're not growing, you're dying. Like there's two forces in the universe, expansion or contraction. So I'm all about expansion. And so I think it's just having that mindset of always playing a bigger game and the willingness to be uncomfortable, right? Because playing it safe can feel good for a while, but I don't know, like that's just not the fuel that's going to keep me revved up for life. And I think that that is the key to staying youthful and staying vibrant. It's, your age has nothing to do with it. It's your ambition, it's your passion, it's having purpose. And so that's my formula, I guess.
And I love it because Allie and I are huge Dr. Benjamin Hardy fans. He's an
Yeah,
author.
yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
10x is easier than 2x. Be your future self now. Like we've read all the books of his. But one of the things that he talks about in his newest book is really going for a goal in the next 3 years that you feel like would normally take you 10 to 30 years to accomplish, really collapsing timeframes. And so having that, that BHAG, that big, hairy, audacious goal, right, is the thing that really drives you to move your business forward and to scale bigger than what you thought. Because a lot of times, even if you're a multi-million dollar company, you might still be playing it small in some area. And so I love the example that you are setting of just going for it.
Yeah.
That's so great. Okay, so once the foundation was kind of set for your business, what were the moves that really accelerated your growth? And did AI or processes or anything like that play into that?
Yeah, so the first was hiring people before you think you're ready, right? Because this was the beauty of Content Bacon being my second business and my partner's second business was we made all the mistakes the first time around, right? We wore all the hats. And then once you get into that mode, it's really hard to start letting go of that. So from the onset, we were clear that we were not going to get sucked into working in the business and wearing all the hats and, get like we were going to make sure we played to our strengths. And so hiring people before you're ready so that you can play to your strengths and do what you do best. And so I think that's number one for sure. Processes key, right? So one of the lessons, again, as an entrepreneur, as someone who had had a successful business before, I knew how to do sales. I knew how to do marketing. I knew how to actually fulfill the work, right? Like get the work, and then I had to do it. So I had to break all that down so that I had a team that could replicate that versus it all being in my head, only me knowing how to do it. And what comes with that is you have to let go of control, right? Because no one's going to do it the way you're going to do it. And sometimes that's great and you get a better result. And sometimes it's less than great. And you get a 70 or 80% result, which is still great. And I think it's that letting go of control and giving your team members the space to make mistakes and do it their way and add their touch and not not living in a space of fear like, oh, if I'm not involved it's not going to be done right if I don't step in. And don't get me wrong, I do that, I still make those mistakes, but now I make those mistakes with more awareness, like I know I'm doing it and I can clean it up. But that's, I think, what allowed us to scale very quickly was I wasn't the bottleneck. And I share this quote quite often because I think it's so impactful. One of my mentors, coaches, said to me once that your company can only grow to the degree in which you are willing to grow. And any setback your company is having, it's a reflection of you. It's not a reflection of outside forces. At first, I had a little resistance to that because I'm like, well, but this person, that person, that, and it's like, who cares? Like, I'm responsible, 100% responsible, which is so much more powerful than being a victim and blaming market conditions or someone on the team or I can't find the right people. Or so I think that, really owning that if I was going to grow this company, I had to keep stepping out of my comfort zone and developing myself as a leader so that I could be the kind of leader who inspired my team and gave them the tools they needed to be successful.
Mm, so good, especially because you're never ready. It's like having a baby, right? Like you're never ready to have a baby. If you think you're gonna like wait to hire until you feel like you're ready to hire, you've already missed the boat, right?
Yeah.
And it really is about that control factor. I mean, I'm a recovering control freak. Like I can admit that. It depends on the day if I'm actually recovering or not.
Yeah.
But there's only so much that you can do. You can only grow that company so much based on your own capabilities and what you can do in the business. So golden. There are some golden nuggets that you are dropping like crazy on this
Thank you.
podcast. So I hope people are taking notes. This is just so neat. So let's get into the AI side of things. So tell us, how did AI first come onto your radar? What was your initial reaction to it?
So we've been using AI for, gosh, I don't know, 4 or 5 years and different tools, Grammarly, and we started using Jasper when it first came out or experimenting with it. But I think that, so I don't even think that we were thinking about it through the lens of when ChatGPT dropped and kind of shook up the world, right? Like that was a different kind of impact where I guess it became way more mainstream. And so many people, were predicting that companies like ours, might just go by the wayside. I never really had that fear, but from our perspective, we've always been interested and always on the lookout for tools that make us better, faster, more effective, right? So when AI became more mainstream and more tools became available, and then every day new tools were dropping, I mean, it has been, and I think to a certain degree continues to be still a bit overwhelming, right? Because there's just so much happening. And I certainly worry, are we doing enough? Are we leveraging enough? Are we investing enough? And all of those things, which probably the answer is no, no, no. But at the same time, I've never let AI or anything be a shiny object for Content Bacon because I learned that lesson so well in Company One that as an entrepreneur and who's someone who loves new ideas, read a book, go to a seminar, come back, hey guys, we're going to try this now, or hear about someone using a tool a certain way and, hey guys, we're going to disrupt our whole system and do this. I don't do that anymore. One, I have someone like you on my team is just an excellent integrator and knows how to adhere to structure and processes. But I guess going back to your question, we look at AI in three key buckets. How can we use AI to generate more sales? How can we use AI to be more effective? And how can we use AI to cut costs? And obviously all of those buckets, there's lots of different ways, and we're always looking at it through that lens. I think when it comes to the actual content creation, we are still very much, humans creating connections with, our customers creating connections with their customers and prospects. And while AI has given us some efficiencies for certain parts of the process, it has not replaced that having a human being tell the story, add the heart and soul, create the connection is still very near and dear to us. And so again, I think, it's one of my favorite tools to use. We use a lot of them and it has made me so much more effective. And I love it. And I love the the direction AI is going in so many ways. The things I don't like, or the things maybe, if I were to say I fear, and that's probably too strong a word, is I believe AI is a tool in the toolbox, and tools are here to serve us, not the other way around. And I think a lot of companies are just kind of handing over the reins to AI. And, I don't particularly think that's a good direction. And then I think because you can create content using AI, a lot of companies are using it and they're creating crappy content. And so the channels, the communication highways are clogged with more and more content, and it's really crappy content. I can smell it a mile away. I can scan my email inbox and see the subject line and know it's AI driven. I can scan social media and detect what's written, and it doesn't create connection. It actually creates the opposite. And so, I think again, it just gives our company and companies like ours the opportunity to stand out and rise above the fray. Am I answering your question? I feel like I went a lot of
Oh,
different tangents.
no, no, it's so I know there's so many different pieces we could dive
Yeah,
into that. But the thing that really stands out about your answer is that you made AI work for you, right?
yeah.
You know the values that you have as a company, and you kind of know those boundaries already. And maybe it wasn't like from the very beginning of, hey, AI just came out and here are my boundaries of what I do and don't want it to do. It's probably something that evolves over time. But the human aspect, like That is the most important part of it. And I think that people get really nervous about AI because they think, I mean, we build AI agents, for example,
Yeah,
right? We're not
which I
trying
love.
to, yeah, we're not trying to replace people. We're just trying to, make them more efficient and effective so that they can spend time on the things that really are those connection points. And so I feel like you have incorporated AI so perfectly into your business because you already knew who your business is. You know what I mean? Like that profile and the values that you have in your business. So when AI came into the picture, it didn't change the way that you did your business. You already had those boundaries up, and AI was just able to help you in the areas you wanted it to help you. Would you say that's right?
Yeah, and we actually created an AI manifesto for our company because I think again in the beginning that people were very nervous and didn't know what was going to happen and were they going to lose their job. I think every company went through that, right? Because that's what the media was telling us. And so I would recommend, and I'm happy to share our manifesto if others want to, take a look and see what I'm talking about. But it was really helpful for me as the leader to create that so I could share what my vision for AI was and the role it would play in our company. And it also became very important too, because sometimes customers would be like, "Hey, are you guys going to use AI now for all my content?" And it really worried some of them, right? Like in the beginning, we had some of our customers start running our stuff through AI detectors, and those have all been faulty from the get-go. And it was like that there was like some mistrust created in the marketplace, right? Because I think companies thought companies like ours were just going to replace all our writers and editors with AI, which, essentially, I guess they think is free. And then, so we had to really make sure we educated our team and educated our customers so that they understood how we viewed AI. And listen, we don't have our head in the sand. We're not like not using AI, but, we're not just creating your content, throwing it into chat gpt and being like, here's your content. So I think if as a company you haven't thought about that and you haven't created your own AI philosophy manifesto, it's a really good exercise to go through and really creates some clarity.
Yes, let's definitely put that in the show notes
Yeah.
for sure because that is such a cool concept. An AI manifesto. Like, if you guys don't get anything else out of this incredible conversation with Wendy, make sure you are really thinking about that AI manifesto for your company because if not, then it can be this kind of crazy world that we live in, right? Because it's only going to get more and more advanced. But it's so important to where that human connection should take place and where you can really find efficiencies with AI. And I just feel like you are balancing that beautifully. So
Thank
I am
you.
so glad we're able to have this conversation. Any other tidbits or thoughts or golden nuggets that you want to leave about AI with the audience today?
Yeah, I mean, I think again that the three buckets that I mentioned are great ways to organize your thoughts around how you want to use AI and not necessarily going after them all at once because it can be overwhelming. And there are so many, new tools that come out and they look fantastic, right? And then you actually go to use them and, and a lot of what I'll call frosting, no cake. So, I mean, I think like really thinking about where's it going to have the biggest impact in your business and kind of attacking one at a time and dialing it in. And it's going to take some trial and error, right? Because like any tool, and a CRM is a perfect example. We tend as business owners, we invest in a lot of tools and then we tend to only use a fraction of their power. And so, I am just a big believer in if you're going to invest in something, get everything out of it. And in order to do that, you've really got to like learn it, use it, create, a playbook for it, and then really like make sure you're implementing it because there's so many opportunities. But if you're just kind of getting 10% of everything, you've got a lot of stuff happening, but you're, a mile wide and an inch deep. So that would be, I think just from a strategic point of view is really identify a couple key areas in your business that you want to use AI for, and then go deep before you move to the next one. And all the stuff you hear, because I'm in lots of different chat groups and where people are talking about all these things, and it's sometimes easy to get sucked in and like the fear of missing out, like I'm missing out. But that's usually not the case. It's usually companies that are doing that have their eye off the ball. And AI tools can be shiny objects that take your eye off mastering the basics and doing what your business is known for consistently versus thinking that there's some easy button out there that, hey, if only you did this, your business would grow to X or you'd cut costs by, you know, those things don't typically happen like that. And taking your eye off the ball is the fastest way to start losing momentum, start losing team, team morale, start losing, customer share. So yeah, that would be my tidbits.
So golden. Love it. Love it. So, my last question before we wrap up here is, what is one thing that you are seeking to solve in your business right now with AI or any other processes or resources?
You know, we have such amazing processes, and sometimes process compliance is a challenge because, as we, have new team members come on board and keeping up and, being a virtual company, which I think all companies are these days, and we've been virtual since before virtual was cool, like really making sure every team member has access to the tools and the processes in an easy, accessible way is a challenge I'm trying to solve right now. And part of what comes with that challenge is just the sheer amount of information being thrown at us, the sheer amount of information as a company we're creating, right? Because we have hundreds of customers. Each customer, has hundreds of, pieces of information. So that's a challenge that we're trying to solve in a way that really works, because when we don't have easy access to our own processes and really making sure that all the information that our customers provide us is super organized, it makes things more challenging. And so, yeah, if you've got any tips for that, all ears. Solve that
Absolutely.
one for me, Elise.
I think there's an AI agent for that.
Of course
I
there is.
love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being open and honest about that too. Because as you grow, like your challenges in your business change, and it's neat to be able to hear that. So, well, this has been incredible. Thank you so much, Wendy,
Thank
for
you.
joining us on Mastering AI Momentum Show, and your strategy, your perspective. I know that the golden nuggets that you've dropped are really going to stick with people and help them to continue to build their momentum in their business. So, if people want to follow you or learn more about you, what's the best place to find you online?
Yeah, I'm on all the channels. Wendy at ContentBacon. If you do just do a search, you'll find me everywhere. And I love hearing from listeners with anything that resonated with you, anything you want to challenge me on. If you just want to have a conversation, I'm always open. So I'd love to hear from the listeners.
Awesome. And isn't that such a great name, guys? Content Bacon.
It's
Like, it
the
just makes your
best.
mouth salivate around content. And so I love it. I love it. Love it.
Thank you.
Well, to our listeners, thank you for being with us. Be sure to subscribe and join us next week for another episode where we're going to just continue to help you build smarter, lead stronger, and master your AI momentum. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Mastering AI Momentum. If today's episode gave you clarity or sparked a breakthrough, share it, review it, leave us a comment, and show Ali and Elise how you're turning AI into ROI. And make sure you subscribe, because the next episode could be the strategy that unlocks your next level. Until then, build smart, scale fast, and let AI multiply your momentum.